Hey guys, the time has finally come for us to move to the next The Darkness, or Jonel Elliott trilogy as I like to call it. And yeah, whenever I begin the next game or next entry in the franchise, I like to give you a bit of an achievement plan and breakdown of how I'm gonna tackle it and what you guys can essentially expect from me. Before I do that here for Tomb Raider 4 Remastered, I would just like to address one thing at the very beginning. I originally planned to do Tomb Raider 5 Remastered, Chronicles, instead. And the reason is simple. After the release of 456 Remastered, both Tomb Raider 4 and 6 were severely lacking and were really unfinished. The first few levels were rushed to look good, but the more I progressed through Tomb Raider 4 Remastered, I have since beaten it on my PS4 and unlocked all achievements except for New Game Plus run, I realized this game is not ready. It is riddled with issues, riddled with bugs. Its darkness settings just didn't work, flare illumination, binox illumination didn't work, kill count is all messed up, vessels broken, tracking isn't correct, the list goes on, and don't even get me started on Jeep, which I know is not a bug that all of you encountered, but I did repeatedly on PlayStation 4, right? So I thought to myself, Tomb Raider 4 is not ready, and also, past a level earlier than the midpoint of the game, it was visually untouched, just upscale textures and nothing else. And I thought to myself, you know, I can start tackling it now, but I would just not present it in the best light possible. In a light that I knew it could look so much better. And something similar happened last year when I started with Tomb Raider 1, you know, it was rushed again, and it just wasn't visually quite there as it was via later patches added. However, if you remember just 1 week back, there was not a single word about any patch incoming. It was actually in, I think on 16th of April or so by the time this video is out it could be a week, they announced that a major patch is coming, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna pause my work on Tomb Raider 5 Chronicles, I'm gonna see what the patch is all about, and then I'm gonna make a decision if I'm gonna tackle Tomb Raider 4 Remastered, and I'm happy to say that the patch is significant enough for me to start tackling Tomb Raider 4, so we are doing this in order, which puts my mind at ease, although I'm a bit bummed out because I love Tomb Raider Chronicles so much. I was looking forward to it way more than Tomb Raider 4, which, as you might know, I'm not the biggest fan of, even though it was supposed to be my dream Tomb Raider game. But that's not here or there. So, I'm happy to say that with the release of major patch number 1, it's finally visually overhauled past the sort of midpoint of the game and onward. I have took a sneak peek through my PS4 save files just to see what the levels look like, and I was mind blown about the touch-ups they did. I feel like it's now ready for me to show it to you in the best light possible. Unfortunately, there are still multiple issues and bugs that the patch has not resolved. Like my favorite binoculars illumination, it still doesn't work, which irritates me to no end, but at least flares are fixed and we have a brightness setting. And also, toggling into the retro original graphics, you can now finally turn off the pixelation filter and see what it looked like in PC with smooth textures. This is something I desperately wanted for 1 to 3 Remastered. I do hope that one day it will be patched into the previous collection as well. But this way the original graphics for both PlayStation and PC version are preserved. And with the addition of, you know, lifting the 30 FPS as a toggle, this is great for game preservation. Although lighting is still a bit messed up, especially in the previous trilogy for OG graphics, so it's not gonna fully represent it, but it is pretty damn close, and a small price to pay for the new remastered graphics, right? So, just wanted to say, give you a brief rundown of the patch changes, but I'll be definitely on the lookout for, you know, actual videos dedicated to breaking down the changes of the patch. But again, the patch convinced me now's the time to start tackling Tomb Raider 4. So, moving on to the achievements breakdown, it will essentially consist of 3 parts. We have 64 achievements to think about for the Tomb Raider 4 package. Why do I say package? Is there an expansion? Not quite, there's just one level called the Times Exclusive, which was released to celebrate an anniversary of Carter's discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, which was mind-blowing back in 1920s. And honestly gave rise to so much fiction, adventure, pulp fiction, and just inspired so many stories, some of H.P. Lovecraft's work. It was just a great stuff. And in a cute way to celebrate this, Lara kind of retraced Carter's steps and discovered what's deeper inside the tomb, which of course everything is made up. But it's a cute little level adventure with a cute cutscene. And well, I'll be honest, I've already tackled the remastered version on my channel. You can check the link in the description below. In this sort of brief level, we have unlocked 2 achievements: time to finish what Carter started just for beating it, quite unmissable, and for finding this level's 2 secrets, the Codex of Tutankhamun, right? So that's it. I usually try to tackle the expansions after the core game. In this particular case, I made an exception. I wanted to give you guys some Tomb Raider 4 remastered content whilst I was still finishing Tomb Raider 3 and the Lost Artifact expansion, okay? So these 2 achievements we have already covered. You will find the video in this playlist as well. We are now gonna move on to the second step of this achievement plan, and that's the first playthrough of the core Tomb Raider 4. And in this one, we are gonna get our hands on 61 achievements. Now this includes quite a few. And yeah, the only achievement that we are excluding from this is the New Game Plus run, which will be the 3rd step. But I wanted to talk a bit more closely about what the second step will entail, because there are really 4 achievements you need to think throughout the entire journey. And these essentially consist of Buried with Me, so finding all collectibles in a single walkthrough, and that should be 589 goodies. Important caveat: with the release of major patch number 1 for this trilogy, if you start a new game or load an earlier save than the Tomb of Samarkand, you will see that the total number of pickups in the statistics screen is now 568. And this confused me and made me worried about this achievement. And I think this is just a running theory. I don't want to do an entire playthrough just to test this, because honestly, I don't care. We are still gonna get 589 goodies, not 568. But it seems the game assumes through the Tomb of Samarkand level, you are gonna take the winning path, which has less goodies and where you will miss out on 5 secrets, but it has an extra breakable object. And I think that's why the patch, until you take the losing path through the Tomb of Samarkand, will show you this statistic on the screen: 568 goodies maximum, and also 170, not 169 breakable vessels as it was before the patch. So I think they tried to improve things by also giving you the total rundown for the winning path through Tomb of Samarkand, and then 100%ing all levels before and after that point. But where they messed up, in my opinion, is the secrets are still 70. Like, if you're gonna do it properly, and then change the 70 secrets count to 65, which is only possible via the winning path for Tomb of Samarkand. So, like I said, this is just my running theory, but I think that's why when after the patch you will see different total pickups and different total of vessels broken. This is just my theory why. I have played around with my save files from PS4 before the patch, but with the patch now applied, and it seems that when I load my losing path of Tomb of Samarkand level end save, it's now back to 589 goonies and 169 vessels broken. So my theory is when we start this new Steam playthrough, these numbers are the ones that will actually matter, okay? So just wanted to address that in case it will create confusion. Now I already mentioned vessels broken, but for breaking 169 of them, we should unlock the Oops achievement. So it will be my goal for each level with a certain number of vessels to be broken or pickups to be gotten, to tell you what that number is in the description and also in the video itself, just so you guys will be able to track your progress along, okay? This is something I would have done anyway. Achievements I don't really need to think about, or you don't need to think about if you want to 100% every level, but there are 2 achievements that you do need to keep in mind for the whole playthrough. First of all, there is the Teomachist, which is an odd one. It asks you to do a handstand within the sight of all the great statues. Now, what's a great statue according to Saber and Aspire? Your guess is as good as mine. Now, I know it because I checked guides online on what these are. Is it the largest statues in the game? Yes and no, some of them are pretty damn small. Is the coolest looking statues in the game? Some of them yes, but some of them not. It's really odd. It's just 8 statues across the entire game, and you have no bloody way of knowing which ones these are, and of course, which squares in front of the statues actually count when making the handstand. So it will be my job to tell you which these are as we progress through the game. Actually, we'll find the first great statue already in the second Cambodian level, which is very, very easy to miss, okay? Now my understanding is you don't need to do this in one playthrough, so using a clever save system you can even go back and, you know, scoop up a missed statue handstand, so to speak. But this is still the case and something to think about. And the other achievement you need to think about, and I really like this one, is Hypatia would be proud. Find all the clues to the puzzles. Again, the key number here is number 8. There are 8 things that the achievement considers as clues in core Tomb Raider 4. All of these I covered in my original 2021 Let's Play, but this is an achievement that can draw an attention of people to some clues the game gives you about the game's puzzle that you might have missed otherwise, so I do appreciate the achievement. But this only involves 3 levels, but each in a completely different geographical location. Okay, so that's why we're gonna have to keep it in mind for the entire playthrough, and of course I'm gonna highlight everything when we begin a level and in my video description of said level, to ensure that you will know you missed nothing. Okay, so these 4 achievements, all breakable vessels, which is different from all breakable objects, something I'll have to personally keep in mind, all goodies, all the clues, and doing handstand in front of all 8 great statues, whatever that is according to Saber and Aspire. Okay, so these will be 4 overarching achievements. Overall, we want to unlock 61. All of them I tested at least pre-patch, and they worked on PS4, so my hope is after the patch, they'll still work on Steam version. Only one way to find out, right? And finally, I already mentioned this, the 3rd step will be to beat the whole of Tomb Raider 4 on New Game Plus difficulty. Now, I have already beaten half of it on New Game Plus on PS4, and as a completionist, I am having a very difficult time, but I'm not gonna get into specifics now. I will do that when we wrap up the core playthrough, and by then maybe there'll be even tweaks done to the New Game Plus, but there are things about it I absolutely love and adore, and there's one thing only that drives me absolutely crazy as a completionist. Those of you who have already played to the New Game Plus know definitely what I'm talking about. But that should then give us the final 64th achievement. It will be a separate long play no commentary video, and the platinum will be ours, this time also on PlayStation 5, which is very nice and thoughtful, but no such luck for Tomb Raider 5 and Chronicles and Angel of Darkness on PS5, okay? You'll get platinum for those only on PlayStation 4. Okay guys, so that's the achievement plan. Now, I'm gonna see you in the main menu, where I want to discuss some of the game settings and why I have decided to use them in a certain way. I'm gonna show you the control scheme I'll be using, and then we're gonna jump right into Lara's adventure that takes place even before the events of Tomb Raider 1. Okay guys, so maybe this way you can hear my voice. There is such an imbalance still between the music and sound effects volume. This is, well, these are the settings I'm gonna keep whilst I give you the rundown of the main menu, and when we're ready to play, I'm gonna raise it up to 7. In-game wise, it's fine, but the main menu music, it's just blasting our ears to smithereens for whatever reason. So, I just wanted to welcome you to the main menu. You can already see that there's a large transition from the circular menus of 1 to 3 Remastered to more modern one at the time in 1999. I do like it, I guess. As far as main menu is concerned, it's fine, but as far as in-game menu is concerned, it's a really bad transition. I'm gonna talk about it more when we actually boot up and play the game, and I'll explain why I prefer the 1 to 3 menu so much, other than being really original and giving us insight into the gadgets that Lara's carrying with her. This is more soulless to me. Anyway, so wanted to welcome you here and guide you through some of the options and settings I'll be using for Tomb Raider 4 Remastered Let's Play. First of all, let's take a look at the basic options menu before we dive any further. Action indicators. You know me at this point, I consider myself a veteran, and I don't want to have unnecessary clutter on my user interface, so I'm gonna have it off. If you do enable it, what you will see is the icon of Lara's hand. It's actually a really sweet icon. Whenever you're standing above a pick-upable object or an interactable mechanism. If it's your first time playing any of these Tomb Raiders, it's invaluable, or if you're coming back to Tomb Raider 4 after a long time, again it's very useful, and especially the switch between Tomb Raider 3 and 4 introduced so many new interactable objects. Doors you can simply walk up to and open with the action key, which is against all design principles of all the previous games. So it's very invaluable unless you've played the game recently, right? But I'm gonna essentially turn this off just so we don't have any unnecessary visual clutter. When it comes to both boss HP bars, this is the same thing you've seen in 1, 2, 3 Remastered. Again, I really like this edition. And especially in Tomb Raider 4, there is a significant number of bosses which you cannot defeat using conventional means, shooting them with guns. This is gonna give you that feedback immediately that you're just wasting your ammo and prevent you from wasting more, which is a good thing. However, where I feel they could have improved this, and it's something I wished for the previous Remastered trilogy really, is give us the option to see health bars of every single enemy we are locked onto, not just the bosses. Make just bosses toggle, but also all enemies toggle. That's what I would wish for. And again, a talented modder from Czechia, Sabatu, who created Sabatu's Tomb Raider 1 and also Tomb Raider 2 and is working on other projects, he already pulled this off. You lock onto an enemy, you see their health bar. It's simple, elegant, and the user interface never clutters your screen even if you're surrounded by multiple enemies. And actually, in Tomb Raider 5 Chronicles Remastered, they kind of did this for one specific boss fight, which has it's a Hydra with multiple heads, and the one you're aiming for will be highlighted in red and actually react to the damage you deal. The ones you're not aiming at will be grey and stuck. Simple, visually gets the point across. Something like this I would really wish for all enemies, not just bosses, but it's the same thing as in the previous Remastered trilogy. Kind of contrary to what I said about the action indicators cluttering up our screen, I feel like this is really valuable to clutter our screen, so I'm gonna make that compromise. And it also is a way to feel how powerful certain weapons are when you compare the damage output on a boss. The only way you were able to tell this in the original game was really get to Cleopatra's Palaces and fire at Lara's golden statue and see how much damage it deals to you as the player. That was the target dummy, to see the damage output of different weapons. But this way, I guess we'll be able to see it a bit earlier on a boss. Okay, now, invert horizontally, vertically, this is something I tweaked around back with the release of Tomb Raider 1 Remastered. Here it's no longer needed. If, like me, you're comfortable with the tank controls and you want the vertical looking to be inverted, it already is by default, so if you actually enable the invertment, it will mean up is up and down is down, which is the opposite of inverted, if that makes sense. So, just leave them off if you want them to be like in the original. If you'd like to change horizontal, vertical, you can toggle these. Vibration dead zone, only relevant to controllers, which I'm not playing with. I prefer on keyboard, but of course, you do want to feel those vibrations. Actually, each time you drop down on the floor after every single jump, you get a significant vibration in your controller. In Tomb Raider 4 and 5, I noticed, which wasn't the case in the previous trilogy. And dead zone, of course, for the analog sticks, if you want to tweak it further, make it less or more sensitive. Talking about sensitivity here, honestly, tweaking this can be useful if you're gonna try and attempt one of two fairly tricky achievements. I'm gonna talk more about that later on, but there'll be some manual aiming via laser sight where this can come in handy, and we might tweak it further, we'll see. And before I talk about the quick save, I just want to cover the ammo counter. This is one of those things I could have sworn was in the original, but that's actually not the case. So, if you don't want to have to check your inventory every single time to see what your ammo is, like maybe those of you who are purists would prefer and you want to have your inventory or interface less cluttered, this toggle has you covered. You can turn it off. I want to turn it on. It will also show us a color-coded ammo highlight depending on different ammunition types we'll be using, which is cool. I just disagree with some of the color highlights. I feel like they could have done a better job, but I'll talk more about it later. And finally, quick save. This is, again, a new addition to this trilogy, which wasn't in the previous one, and it's really interesting. If you turn on the quick save or quick load hotkeys and have this enabled, you will instead have access to an entirely separate quick save slot outside of all the save slots that are already in the game, so an extra save slot. And essentially the game will save itself there, giving you a highlight at the bottom right side of the screen that you have just quick saved. And if you press the quick load key, it will immediately start loading. If you have this toggled off, what quick save and quick load hotkeys do is they open up your standard save and load menu, so you will lose access to this extra save slot. So I can't recommend turning this on enough. However, I myself for this Let's Play am gonna turn it off. I'm gonna explain why. I don't want to increase my save count by accident, and you know me, I like to keep my saves count as low as possible. I don't know why I'm obsessed with it, and I consider it a shame to increase it. So because of my compulsion for this particular thing, I'm gonna turn it off, but I can't recommend this setting enough for you guys. It's an awesome addition, okay? Talking about the quick saves, I guess I would like to take us to the control menu, because here we'll be able to check out the shortcuts menu, and therefore the quick saves, okay? So quick save on PC keyboard is F5, quick load is F9. In the original, I believe it was F5 and F6, which sucked because they were so close together you could often confuse one for the other and cause mayhem, okay? So I appreciate they put some distance between these function keys, just like they did in the previous Remastered trilogy. You can also check that the photo mode is F3, as in the previous trilogy. S is toggling between modern and original graphics. Small map pack is 0, large map pack is 9. Honestly, I would switch these two. It always confuses me that it's first the large, then the small. And then weapons. Pistols are 1, shotgun is 2, just like in all previous games. Where I really disagree with their decision is to put Uzis as 3 and revolver, which is essentially the Desert Eagle of this game, as 4. I would like to see these swapped. I want Uzis to be number 4, as in all previous entries, and I want revolver to be 3, as Desert Eagle in Tomb Raider 3. That would feel natural. Grenade gun is 5, crossbow is 6. Which kind of makes sense, because crossbow is way more powerful than the grenade gun, okay? And flares is C, and this will correspond to your own custom key binding that I'm gonna show you in a sec. By the way, in case you're wondering, guys, you cannot edit the shortcuts, which is such a bummer. Furthermore, whenever I open the shortcut screen on my good old games PC version, the whole game crashes for some reason. And yeah, when I open it up on PS4, PS5, it's fine. But I understand not being able to tweak shortcuts fully. I get that due to some engine limitations. But I think what they could at least do is allow us to swap these around, you know? Let us swap Uzis and revolver, or let us just move the small and large medpack around, all sorts of stuff. I don't see why they couldn't work, you know? You have your settings that are predefined, but which function they trigger, you could let us customize that. So I really hope they'll improve this with a future patch. And of course, I want to see this for the previous trilogy. Okay, so that's it. Talking about the controls, I'm of course going to be using the tank control scheme I'm very comfortable with. You can fully use the modern. You can see that this has direct effect on the combat mode. In modern, you need to hold the weapons key to have your guns out, like in LAU trilogy. Dash and duck mode will be toggle, but you don't have to hold. It's the exact opposite in the tank controls, but within each tank control scheme, they gave you the option to toggle this, which I think is really nice. But I'm going to toggle the combat mode in tank controls. Dashing, I'm actually going to be holding, not toggling, because this way you have more control over Lara's limited stamina bar, so I think that's good. And ducking, I am considering using a toggle, but I guess from Tomb Raider 3 Remastered, I'm just so used to holding, and also when you're in actual crawl spaces, you don't need to hold it. Lara will automatically be in duck mode, right? So it's no biggie. Slide to run is an interesting addition. Whenever you transition from a slippery slope to solid, even surface, you will immediately start running with no recovery animation. They have also seemed to remove some climbing animation sort of frames, that between grabbing a ledge and climbing up, there was always a slight delay in the original Tomb Raider 4 and 5. They have seemed to remove these, so it's as smooth as in 1, 2, 3, which is a good thing. But of course, you can toggle this off if you're a purist. I want this on, and I want to see this in 1, 2, 3 Mastered. Okay, and finally, given I'm a tank controls guy, I'm just so comfortable with them and confident when I'm playing like that. I want to keep the modern control scheme for LAU trilogy, which is not square-based. I prefer my precision and methodical movement. I want to show you the controls. I'm not going to reset to default, although that option is always there, but I'm using the D-pad for movement and turning Lara around like a tank. This doesn't actually move her, just turns her own space. Shift, I think this applies to both left and right shift. If your keyboard has both of them, whichever you press, you'll turn into walking modifier. Alt is jumping, action is control, which I always have available on my left hand, both jumping, action, walking. Talking about this, since my left hand will be on shift, modifying Lara's run into walk, the other movement modifiers like ducking or sprinting are also right next to shift in my left hand. So my movement modifiers are all here, as is using the left index finger, pressing C, which is right next to X, for drawing a flare. See, very comfortable, very easy. A drawing weapon. I like my also gothic tank controls, and this reminds me of the gothic control scheme. So, you know, taking your sword out is the same as Lara taking her pistols out, which is a spacebar. For looking, this can vary greatly on what's your keyboard layout. For me, on my Dark Project keyboard, I essentially can just use my pinky finger on my right hand to put it onto 0 numpad, and I have immediate access to looking evens during all sorts of movements while swimming or jumping, which is amazing. And probably the most important thing, rolling. Guys, I can't recommend this enough. Make sure this is as close to your D-pad available always. Make sure you're comfortable pressing the roll key when you are on ground, in underwater, and especially in midair in combat. Otherwise, you're just gonna end up wasting medpacks, okay? You need to roll around in midair to be efficient in combat. It's something you probably have already mastered, having tackled those previous 3 games. And for me, it's really just next to my D-pad so I can roll whenever, okay? You'll see that, of course, as we play. If you're using a controller, I can't recommend enough putting the roll key to the right trigger button, okay? That means you can easily do it when you're in midair and still maintain firing and jumping accessible. Oh, and by the way, whether you're playing on PlayStation with X for action and square for jumping, or Xbox controller with A for action and X for jumping, please guys, switch these 2 buttons around. It's the only way you can actually jump with the ball joint of your thumb, but still use the tip of your thumb to press action. What this means is you'll be able to jump and roll in midair during combat whilst maintaining the action button pressed and firing at enemies. I cannot tell you how important this is and how much I hate the default controller settings. They are absolutely atrocious, and I do not understand the decision behind this control scheme back in the day. Thankfully, we can customize this fully nowadays. Okay, so that's essentially it for the control scheme, the main settings. Oh yeah, regarding the audio, I am gonna raise the music volume to 7 when we actually start playing the game, and SFX I'm gonna keep at 10. Like I said, the music is just way too loud. One thing I was a bit bummed out, the patch notes mentioned some language fixes. Yes, for existing languages, but they still haven't added all sorts of languages that are present in 1.2.3 Remastered. I guess it's not a priority right now, but I was really looking forward to seeing Slovak translations, which often make me giggle, but they're not here. And of course I'm enabling subtitles, so you'll understand what the characters are talking about, both in in-game cutscenes and FMVs, okay? And finally, graphics. Now this is where the most recent patch really made me happy. First of all, originally retro filter wasn't here. If you turn into retro graphics, what it used to be like and what it still is like in 1.2.3 Remastered, you will see heavy pixelation across all textures and 30 FPS. 4.5.6 Remastered gave you the option to lift the 30 FPS cap and have a much smoother movement, and if you turn off the filter, look. Finally, we have the original textures preserved, how they looked on PC. So much better. Now, depending on where you're coming from, if you played them back in the game on PlayStation, you will probably have a nostalgic value assigned to the pixelation. That's fine. I don't, because I was a PC player back then. That's where I played them. And that's what annoyed me about 1.2.3 Remastered, that the original graphics are represented like this. Whereas I remember them smoother, like this. And we finally have the toggle to do it. I really hope that we'll get to see this implemented via a patch into 1.2.3 Remastered, but I understand that fixing 4.5.6 is the priority for Saber now, okay? So, just wanted to show you that. But if you plan on playing the retro graphics, my recommendation is just leave the unnecessary FPS toggle and apply the retro filter to have smoother textures. Now, furthermore, pickup highlight. As you can see, it's grayed out in the OG graphics, and that's because it only works in the remastered graphics, similar to how retro FPS and retro filter is grayed out in modern graphics, right? A pickup highlight is something that only works in modern, and it essentially means that there isn't some arbitrary user interface indicator. Instead, all objects, as you approach them from distance, will be brighter and brighter and reach a maximum brightness setting. So even in a completely dark corner, you will see them shining brightly. This is extremely useful for new time players, or if you're revisiting the game after many years. I personally want to show you how to find everything with this toggled off, so as not to have the bit of immersion broken, and to give value to flares, okay? But again, if you're, not following a guide, just playing on yourself, or, are playing it for the first time maybe, this is extremely useful, ensuring that you miss as few goodies as possible, okay? And finally, the newest and one of the most important additions of the major patch number 1, brightness setting. Look how high you can go in both the original and the modern graphics. So if you're ever stuck in a dark corner, you can do this. Now, I will play on default in the modern graphics, and if we'll encounter a problem, it seems the patch number 1 has already fixed the flares behavior, so we should be able to help ourselves out with flares, which before the patch, flares barely did anything. It was really frustrating. Furthermore, if you feel like using flare is unfair, you can just tweak it further. There are a couple of instances where I can imagine raising the brightness to 3, but maybe not more than that, or maybe make 3 your default and it could be a better experience. But I want to stick to this one, okay? But the fact that they gave us an option is awesome. They could have just fixed it, but different people with different screens could have had a different opinion on what's the ideal setting, so they were like, you know what guys, you figure it out, and I think that's fair. And again, it's both on remastered and original graphics, which I think is absolutely awesome. Okay, so that's essentially that. And coming back to the audio settings, oh yeah, I'll do that as the very final thing. You can also trigger the credits from the main menu. Sure, we will do that once we beat the game. You can switch this time horizontally to Tomb Raider 5 Chronicles and Angel of Darkness. But you can also exit, and rather than checking out the passport, unfortunately that's missing. I really did prefer seeing all sorts of gadgets Lara carried on her. Instead we have this soulless menu, but you can check your save slots. The very first save was at the end of the Times exclusive level where we unlocked the 2 achievements I talked about. If you try to load an empty save slot, no. It's a cute addition. This was also the case in the original. Now, important thing I want to talk about briefly is, especially if you're a PC player, there is an increased number of save slots as opposed to the original, which is awesome. And especially the original PS1 version had like 10 save slots. It was absolutely ridiculous. Tomb Raider 4, if you want to have level end save at the end of each level, has around, I think, 34 unique levels. But the thing is, you'll be moving multiple times across each level. So if you want to make a unique save between every single change of a level instance, we're looking at number like 63 or 64, something like that. Now, the problem is, even in the extended save slot number in the remastered version of Tomb Raider 4, there's not enough save slots to save even 34 times for every unique level, not even counting the fact that we'll be revisiting them multiple times. So eventually you're gonna run out of save slots. And what happened to me in my PS4 version, when I was trying to just make a save slot for those 34 different levels, not 64 unique revisits, was I ran out of save slots in middle of the Kairos section. And then moving on to Giza and so on, I had to start overwriting my saves from earlier on, all those from Cambodia, all the way to the Sacred Lake. I think Sacred Lake was the last one that actually remained before I ran out of save slots. So you will eventually run out of your, I guess, first quarter or first fifth of the game. So on PC, I can't recommend this enough. When you run out of save slots and before you make another save, please make a backup. It's in your hard drive, in your documents, user, app data, roaming. TRX2 should be the folder you're looking for. It has a different ID if you're playing on GOG, Epic or Steam version. You can look up online what the correct ID is for your own unique profile and make a backup of your profile and save slot settings so that you can come back to earlier levels even if you run out of save slots. Let's say in case you missed out on a Teomachist statue handstand and you want to scoop it up quickly and unlock the achievement, anything. That's what I'm going to be doing. Unfortunately, on my PS4, no such luck. I had to overwrite my earlier save slots, which is such a bummer. Okay, so just wanted to talk about that briefly, and let me raise the audio to 7 this time, and let's finally jump into Lara's earliest adventure at the age of 16 in 1984.
breach the sanctum of the ancients, the first footfalls in this tomb for centuries.
This place gives me the creeps. After you.
And so let me officially welcome you to Cambodia's Angkor Wat in 1984. But you know how I like to do things. Let me show you the stat screen. The much improved and enhanced stat screen of the Tomb Raider 4 Remastered. So in today's level, we are essentially gonna get our hands on all 10 goodies. 8 of these are in fact secrets. They will trigger a secret per pickup, just like in Tomb Raider 2, although this kind of principle then doesn't really apply for the rest of the game. It sets a bit of a null expectation. We are also not gonna land any kills, but there are gonna be 3 enemies that our mentor Von Croy will have to take care of, and there will be no vessels or any other breakable objects in this level. It's gonna be very straightforward and more tutorial focused. Now, I talked about this back in the main menu that I'm going to talk about the in-game stats screen and a couple of problems I have, and the first one that comes to mind is that with the release of the major patch, the overall number of pickups has decreased to 568, and yet it used to be 589. I don't know what's up with that, and I'm thinking that later on in a certain level, you can essentially take 2 branching pathways through it. You cannot take both, like you could in many instances in Tomb Raider 3. And maybe they're thinking we are taking the shorter route up until we take the longer route, and then the stat screen will somehow self-update? That's really the only thing I can think of. What is perhaps even more concerning, and I already mentioned this, is that the vessels broken count has increased to 170, so not 169 like it used to be before patch. And honestly, outside of the sort of vessel containing locusts in the City of the Dead, I'm not sure what else they could mean, and I'm kind of worried we'll find out too late, but I'll be digging for information online post-patch as we're working our way through the Tomb Raider 4 Remastered, making sure that we will not miss it. And if we will, hey, I'm gonna include a pinned comment in the given video, okay guys? So, with that out of the way, there are also achievements to think about. We will unlock 2. First of all, Cambodia consists of only 2 levels, and the second level, which we'll actually play twice for reasons I'll cover then, has no secrets. Only the first Angkor Wat level has secrets, 8 of them, and for getting all 8, we will already unlock the Codex of Angkor Wat today. We will also unlock What's Up Doc, which is gonna actually require us to die in a certain place in a certain way, but I'm gonna talk more about it later. Now, moving on to the next trilogy, you will see a completely overhauled inventory system in case you're new here. And this is, it's a darn shame, honestly. I feel like the keyrings menu, separating usable supplies with in-game options and with key items, was perfect. It made sense, it always kept it neat and tidy, and when you were scrolling through multiple weapons, it was a quick affair. But this time you'll have to get used to your inventory getting cluttered because everything is in one ring. Now you start the game with 1 large medpack, 3 small medpacks.
No.
That Lara will of course refuse to use. But what's better in the remastered version of the game is that you used to have a separate item for saving and a separate item for loading. These have been merged into Lara's sunglasses that, other than giving you the save and load options, also give you the in-game statistics to look at, okay? So that's awesome, and you can also access the in-game options menu, but I already covered this in the main menu. It's exactly the same kind of options, but if, for example, you want to reapply the retro filter on the go and see the game run at 30 FPS like it used to, and just to compare, let's go to graphics, off. This is so much better, isn't it? It's a night and day difference when playing. And of course, like I mentioned, I'm incredibly happy about them finally giving us the smooth PC textures. Please guys, please re-implement this into 1.2.3 Remastered, okay? So, you know the drill by now from here. What this also combines is the outfit selector, and this is again where I think they improve things as opposed to the previous trilogy. You kind of get a sneak peek of all the different outfits. With the most recent major patch, they have re-implemented all the Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 outfits. Finally, I don't want to praise them too much for this because this was a promised feature on the launch that didn't make it. So this is not a positive, it's a negative. We got it late, in my opinion. We need to be a bit, harsh, keep certain standards of expectation. But it's finally here, which is good. where they improve things is you are able to finally turn on sunglasses, no matter where you are, without having beaten the game first. You were able to do this in 1.2.3 Remastered while holding the walk and look keys or loading screens, but this is so much more convenient, and when they later patched it to include it in the outfit selector, you were no longer able to do it before beating the game, but now you have freedom like that, which is awesome. You can, by the way, check out all the outfits in the photo mode. So there are those that we started the game with, that were here even before the patch. You can see adult Lara, and here we move on to the Tomb Raider 3 outfits, which is interesting because you can see the hairstyle changing as well, which is pretty damn cool. But Lara in those previous trilogy outfits maintains the same hairstyle she does in her new classic visage, which I think is actually really interesting. So she doesn't look exactly the same like in the previous trilogy. Her hairstyle will reflect the new Lara in Tomb Raider 4 and 5 Remastered. And yes, you can absolutely have the Fierce Nevada on. The bomber jacket, that's where it really hits me that this is awesome. My most favorite outfit. You can turn on wetsuit if you want, it's great. Or if you feel like you've been through a lot, you can just apply the bloody one, you know, like Lara's been through enough scrapes. So this is an awesome addition, and you can take a sneak peek to Tomb Raider 5's outfits. And by the way, if you're wondering what's the difference between young Lara 1 and 2, it's just her having a backpack, a transition we will already see happen in this level. Furthermore, you have a separate sunglasses toggle. You can give her all sorts of weapons, so you can take a sneak peek of what these will be like. The crossbow, grenade launcher, shotgun, Uzis. Uzis are so tiny in here, it's cute. Revolver, which is essentially Desert Eagle, and her trusty pistols. We can, of course, have the flares. Now, interesting thing, with the patch, they've also added the animate option. This is... I'm surprised they added it here, and it makes me very happy personally. You know, I like to do these scrolling text screens. Animate option will essentially mean that if you pause the game with the photo mode and you look at a body of water, you turn on animate, the water will flow despite the whole game being frozen. So all particle effects will flow naturally, and this is going to make my life of making those scrolling texts easier. Outside of that, I'm not sure what use you guys, for example, will have with this, but maybe for YouTube shorts or that sort of thing, okay? So that's essentially it, the additions I wanted to show you for the photo mode. And yeah, let's keep one thing in mind. You can skip almost all the information Von Croy gives you if you press the look key. Now I want to show you all of it, so I'm going to be really careful not to do that by accident.
Careful, all is not as it seems. Concealed traps and pitfalls await the unwary. You must stay close and follow my instruction.
Or you can absolutely ignore Von Croy's instructions and instead focus on getting all the secrets, like this one. So there we go, the Golden Skull. Absolutely love what they did with it in the remaster. These have no use.
No.
They serve as a secrets tracker. Talking about secret tracker, let's just look at the lower left part of the screen. The compass was kind of an awesome addition in the original Tomb Raider 4, and it was always visible in the menu. So it wasn't an extra object you would have to cycle to and select like you had in Tomb Raider 1, and given how cluttered the inventory will get in TR4, this is especially cool. So it was always visible. I love this edition of the original Tomb Raider 4, and unlike in Tomb Raider 1, it actually works and shows you the correct sides, which is awesome. Now, the addition of the remastered version is you have a secrets tracker. So, in each level, you are able to check in advance if there are secrets, and if yes, how many there are, okay? This is great, because in the original, whenever you opened up the stat screen, you would only see how many secrets you found out of the overall number of 70, so you would never know if you missed some, which was absolutely infuriating. So, the remasters took a step in the right direction, showing us level-specific secrets. I just honestly wish they would do this for pickups and kills, and even vessels broken. But that's where I'm gonna step in, and I'm gonna show you at the end of each level what kind of stats you wanna see, okay? So this is, like I said, a step in the right direction. This is still better than the original, just not quite as good as I was expecting, given how much focus they were on this in the previous trilogy. Okay then. So, let's see Von Croy. Oh, and by the way, I haven't really checked him up close. We've seen him during the cutscene, how much he changed, as opposed to the original. He looked just as old as he will essentially 15 years from now on. By the way, Lara is 16 at this stage, so she will be 31 at the events of Tomb Raider 4. And yeah, This is not what I would expect Von Croy to look at, but it actually started to make sense to me as I saw his older version. This is still the same man, just minus his glasses. I think it's the lack of glasses that makes it strange. Oh, and by the way, notice the Union Jack, the Cambodia and the Austria patch-ins. Essentially he's Austrian, hence he has a flag of his own country there.
Good men have died for the information contained herein, and cruel men have bartered the information for their own ends. For this we must respect it. We will not deviate from its route, and you will not deviate from my instruction. This way.
Okay, Von Croy, I know you're trying to be authoritative, but it just seemed like you got really aggressive for no reason. When I was younger and I didn't really understand English, I just had no idea why this man has so many mood swings. Okay, guys, so if you step here, yeah, that was a bit of a warning shot. Let Von Croy trigger the mechanism, you kind of need to approach him, and he'll trigger the trap prematurely, so now you can walk freely. If you don't trust it, you can absolutely let him walk first, okay?
The first obstacle, a small hop to test your, how do you say, pluck. Press and hold walk. Now push forward.
And what I also want to do is just show you Von Croy doing it. Look at him, hopping like an Easter bunny.
Come, come, child, do not fear. This is merely an appetizer for the perils ahead. Push forward and jump together.
Remember him saying do not deviate from my instructions and me saying you absolutely should? Let's not jump. Let's instead drop on top of the second secret. So for either failing this or intentionally not following Von Croy's instructions, I think that was the general idea that the original devs had, you are going to be rewarded with the secret. But this sets up a precedence that you should never follow his instructions, which isn't quite the case. Oh, and by the way, guys, I'm not going to cover all the moves we covered in Lara's home for Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 Remastered, okay? I'm just going to focus and give you on-screen prompts for the new moves. So this is retreading the same ground, and I'm not going to waste your time. If you are, however, new to the series or need a refresher, please check out Lara's home videos. Now, you know what I gotta do. I gotta take a picture of every single new enemy, and I feel like the lighting conditions here are pretty good to capture both the boar and Von Croy in their original and remastered glory. So let's absolutely go for it, yeah. Now, this is what I mentioned, that we are not gonna kill any of the 3 enemies Von Croy is, so it wouldn't really be fair to count it as kills, even though I guess you could look at it that we're luring the boars to Von Croy, but no, he's the one snagging those kills, okay? Careful about the look key here.
Patience, child. Disrespect is a route to carelessness. Our route lays beyond the stream.
Okay, so another standing jump he made. Let's see him talk more about that.
This gap is wider, and the edges treacherous. First walk to the edge, then press forward and jump together. When you are in mid-air, press and hold action. You will grab the outcrop.
This is essentially building up on the previous standing jump forward. We'll just have to grab the outcrop, as he called it, but I just want to spend a minute to take a look at the sheer beauty of this place. I mean, this looked spectacular back in the original, but this is such a night and day difference. And these are exactly the kind of changes I wanted to see applied to the whole Tomb Raider 4 before we start tackling the Let's Play series. Anywho, let's do as he says for now.
Hold action and press up.
Yep. Easy.
Ah, the pace is quickening now, yeah? One more crossing, child. Or do you wish to stop for tea?
Oh, I think I can just about hold it together. Wouldn't want to spill it on your nice suit, at any rate.
And this is going to be an introduction to running jumps if you're new to the series. I kind of want to see Von Croy do it first. Please.
This one calls for a run-up. I will go first.
Well, that was a necessary cutscene. Okay, could you please do it, Von Croy? Or Werner, I can call you with familiarity like that.
Be careful now, child. We have little time for incompetence. Walk to the edge, then tap back to give yourself a run-up.
And by the way, you kind of have to do this on the left side of this ledge, not the right one, or you are gonna miss on a tutorial. So if you're interested to see Werner von Croy talk more, do it on the left side and tap backwards.
Now, press forward and immediately press and hold jump. Now hold down action to grab onto the ledge.
Yep, a running, grabbing jump combining what we learned before, and this time we're gonna climb up on our own terms. That's more like it. At the age of 16, Lara was already pulling things like this off, which is awesome. Now, let's go for a brief detour, because you would miss out on a secret, again following Von Croy's instructions to the letter. Now you don't have to repeat the series of jumps, you can very quickly get back like this, which is awesome. Let's see what he has to say now.
A useful crack, rendered by the hand of time, invisible to the untrained eye.
You're a regular superhero, Werner.
Ah yes, the Superman. There's enough comedy.
So I guess Werner's eye is trained to spot all sorts of cracks, whatever that implies.
Run to the wall. Now press forward and hold action to grab on. Now press right to shimmy across.
And this is the tutorial message I believe I missed in my original 2021 LP series, so I kind of wanted to redeem myself for that. My goodness, they're so easy to miss in this game. By the way guys, those of you playing this on consoles, let me know if some of Werner's lines are perhaps missing.
Good, good. Now press forward to climb up.
Because remember, some of Lara's own lines from Lara's Home 1, 2 and 3 were removed from the console versions, especially Nintendo Switch, I think was the worst offender with the draconic policies.
This is a high fall. You should lower yourself down to be safe. Turn around to face away from the door. Now press back and hold action. Let go of action to fall to the floor.
Okay, and this is where I want to stop for a while and tell you about all sorts of new moves, not specific to Tomb Raider 4, but to Tomb Raider 4 Remastered. So if we follow Von Croy's instructions, we can walk to the ledge, turn around manually, hop back and grab action, and we can let go. Before that, I want to show you other ways of letting go. If you're already facing backwards, you can just press action in Tomb Raider 4 Remastered, and I believe this is an animation carried over from Angel of Darkness, reapplied to Tomb Raider 4 and 5. This one in particular I'm not a big fan of because I end up triggering it accidentally when I don't want to, okay? Furthermore, let's say you are facing the ledge and you want to turn around and hop back and grab it. You can do it much quicker if you hold the walk key first and then press action. And Lara will do this. This is another convenient way of doing it. Now, you can also achieve the same thing you did before while just holding the action key, but hold the walk first, and Lara will do this stylish move to enter the ledge. This is, in essence, a counterpart to a handstand climb up, you know? Just Lara showing off her acrobatics completely unnecessarily. I love touches like these. This kind of move I would love to see reintroduced into Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 Remastered package, but yeah, more about that later. Furthermore, and this is kind of my favorite way to do this, whenever you see a ledge and you know you want to do a safety drop, just transition into roll, grab it and let go. That's the fastest way I can think of. None of those flashy moves are needed, and if you're really uncertain about, you know, you taking damage even from a safety fall, there's no safer way to do this than to crawl, go forward and hold the jump key, not action, to make a safer safety draw. And I believe I kind of gave you a quick crash course of all the safety drop ways you can pull it off, but yeah, this has been expanded greatly for Remastered. Just wanted to come
Your
back.
chance to earn your keep, Fräulein. The mechanism to activate the bridge lies at the other side of the stream. These rivers cascade through chambers and caverns deep below these prehistoric foothills. As a consequence...
Freezing, I guessed. The old gout playing up again, Werner?
Lara, you are fierce. You're gonna have none of his nonsense. By the way, another ridiculously easy to miss tutorial. Do not jump into the water yet, follow Von Croy to the side.
In deep pools, you can swim by pressing jump. Use the directions to navigate through the water. There may be artifacts, trinkets at the bed.
I gotta admire the way Von Croy tried to motivate Lara to go for a swim when he wanted to stay nice, dry and cozy. Trinkets, he really knows how to talk to her, which is kind of cute, honestly. And you know what, despite the fact that he only said it to trick her, he's correct. I can already see the next secret down there. So let's swan dive like absolute pros and get our hands on it. Yay! Furthermore, if you check out the completely optional tunnel over here, you'll get your hands on the only 2 pickups that aren't secrets here in Cambodia, and that's a large and a small medbag. By the way, this is what I talked about. I have the object highlight turned off, but I think if we go to graphics and object highlight on, you can see how bright the small medbag is from a certain distance. If you get further away, it will be less and less bright and more as you approach. But I kind of want to challenge myself, you know, and get all the goodies even without the pickup highlight. But like I said, I cannot recommend this setting enough if it's your first playthrough of Tomb Raider 4, or at least the first one in quite a while, you know, and you don't have this fresh in your memory. But I would like to keep the game as immersive as possible and still show you around. So I'm gonna turn it off, but I can't recommend this enough. It's a really good setting.
Your average priceless seaweed.
No prizes for you this time, Lara. Ah well, use forward and left and right to move across the surface until you reach the shore. Then press action to climb out.
Again, I don't want to go into detail about controls we already covered, but you can pretty much pull off everything you could back in Tomb Raider 1 Remastered, including these sort of side steps and going for another swim, that sort of thing, and using the action to get out pretty easy.
Look for a lever or pressure pad. There must be one close by. When you find it, use action to activate it.
Yeah, levers like this, you always push, you never pull, so you always need to approach them from the side that they're pointing to. By the way, you can repress it again, but nothing will happen. This drawbridge will stay as is, okay? So that's pretty neat, and yeah, I love the fact that Lara said your average priceless seaweed. Even though she found an actual treasure, she wanted to keep it to herself. By the way, she will say the same thing even if you don't find the secret or the medpacks, right? So it's difficult to say what the original authors meant. In my headcanon, I love the idea that Lara just kept the treasure secret for herself.
You will catch your death in those clothes, my dear. A quick sprint up that ladder will dry you out again.
Such concern. I never knew you cared.
Dear Lara, you are a valuable asset to the quest.
You are romantic, you.
Yes, quite.
I'm not really sure if they wanted the dialogue to come across as creepy as it did. I'm just gonna assume that's not the case. But I can't really justify this. Anyway, let's just move on.
Walk up to the ladder. Now press and hold action to climb up onto it. Keep this button pressed and use forward to climb to the top.
By the way, to give you guys a full context, in case you're wondering why is young Lara following this middle-aged man around Cambodia, that's why I included the scrolling text at the beginning as well, to give you a bit of information from the original game's manual. I love the idea that Lara just found out about Werner in National Geographic entry, asked her dad to go with him on an expedition, and Von Croy essentially got the mission, yep, I need to look after this rich person's daughter and keep her safe. Not doing the best job of it, though.
There will be another lever up there. Pull it, then get back down here quickly. The quest is nearly at an end.
No, it's not. Stop lying, Werner. By the way, I find this letter fascinating because this is in fact two different rows of tiles that are letter textures, but they just look as if a letter is in the middle, but you can grab the edges as well. I find that interesting for whatever reason.
Swiftly across the vines now. Press jump, then hold down action to grab onto the bars.
Okay, I wanted to wait for him to say it because doing it too quickly we would interrupt him and move on to this one.
Now press forward to swing across. Don't let go of action or you will again be for the plunge.
That's the better case scenario. You'll just go for a dip in the water and we'll have to retrace your steps. But yeah, this is exactly as it was in Tomb Raider 3. You can even, holding the walkie, do sort of side swinging, almost shimmying like. But this time, when you're holding back, Lara can turn around. How awesome is that? This was not the case even in Tomb Raider 3 Remastered. I love this addition. I don't believe this was mentioned anywhere in the patch notes, so I think that's really cool and gonna make things way more convenient. Okay, so let's make it to the very end. By the way, a little bit of remastered detail I want to talk about. They gave depth to these kinds of windows. You can kind of take a peek inside. These are always empty, but just the fact that from a distance they look like they serve a purpose and have depth to them, that makes all the difference. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, it's great. Okay, now let's follow Von Croy, and I think around the corner we will find another boar. Now this boar is interesting. It only wakes up if you approach it. Oh, or if Von Croy makes it here. If you make it too quickly, you will just see boar chilling out there and not really moving much. He's waiting for either Lara or Von Croy. Oh. Oh my goodness, how long is this gonna take? One hit? Okay. You know, it would be more convenient if all it would take would be just one swipe of his blade to kill a boar. I don't know why they had to give them so much health. It would be twice, but hey. He pulled it off, and around the corner there will be, yep, another one. So, Lara, let's just hide behind the adult. Actually, I'm not really sure. Since Lara's 16 at the time, I'm not exactly sure how old she is during her island adventure in Tomb Raider Chronicles. If she's younger there or here, but in Ireland she does have her backpack already. So I would guess that takes place after Cambodia here. Who knows? Okay. All boars taken care of. There will be no more enemies, boars or anything like that in this level. Just a few traps. And in the corner over here, let's not forget yet another secret. Okay. I think this was number 6. Oh, number 5. Gotcha. We'll have number 6 right around here. And this is where I'll have to save the game for the first time. By the way, I just love the detail on this thing so much. Even the skybox, I don't think I really took a proper look at it yet. You can see the outcroppings. To be fair, the temples look great, even the original skybox. Sorry, it's very early in the morning, so my tongue is being a bit twisted. But yeah, I just want to see the temple complex there. Pretty much what every tourist thinks of when they think of Cambodia. Oh, and by the way, this giant statue looming over us there, watching us no matter where we are. It is kind of terrifying, I'll be honest. Okay, so let us enter. Again, I never realized this is supposed to be a gong. It looked like something to reflect light. By the way, it did a better job reflecting light in the original graphics than it does in the remastered ones, which is a bit odd. Anywho, secret on the right side over here. And this, my friends, is where we are gonna unlock this level's first achievement. And I guess the first achievement of the core game, not counting the times exclusive. What's up, dog? Lie down next to your predecessor. This is, of course, Indiana Jones with his hip and trademark hat. A little nice reference that was here in the original. Lying down, unfortunately, does not mean crawling. Oh my god. How on earth does the hitbox work there? I truly do not know. But yeah, that's not what the achievement asks for. We, in fact, need to die. So I'm gonna make our first save here. And let me show you what I mean exactly. On normal difficulty, it takes actually quite a while before Lara dies. Lie down beside your predecessor. What's up, dog? Funny thing is, she didn't really even lie, but you know what? A situation like this and an indie reference and dead young Lara, I just have to take a picture of. This is a must, even though it's a little bit depressing. Now, unfortunately, there is no restart level option. Not that I would want to restart the whole level, but this is something I feel it's still missing from 4, 5, 6 Remastered. Maybe it's in Tomb Raider 6, don't quote me on that. I have barely even scratched the surface of that game, but in Tomb Raider 4 and 5 Remastered, which I've already beaten, unlocking all achievements but New Game Plus playthroughs on PS4, that's where I kind of built my impressions of the state of this remastered package. And yeah, I would really welcome the restart level option so that you can't really soft lock yourself. I imagine in Tomb Raider 4 that could be a bit more difficult to implement, given later on you'll be able to non-linearly move across levels. But in Tomb Raider 5 at least, which is just moving from level to level, I would expect restart level to be there. Okay, so there we go. We, by the way, don't really see those new loading screens that the patch added. Only if you move from one level to a different level and it needs to load that map. That's when you'll see them, but not if you reload in the same level, okay? That's probably because the loading process is so fast, which is pretty good.
There is no mention of this in the texts. I fear this must be opened internally. We must enter through the grate and be wary of snares.
I presume by we, you refer to me.
Yeah. My heavier frame may activate traps. You will pass unnoticed.
How convenient.
I mean, he does have a point. I just don't believe a word he's saying.
Stand facing the grate. Now, press and hold the crouch button. Push forward to crawl into the gap. Be alert.
I thought there's gonna be something following the be alert, but apparently not. By the way, cool thing is, you can take a look through these grates to see what's on the other side, and we can already make out the gold skull here, even in the original. This one was not transparent, they fixed that in the remastered version, but I don't believe we can really access it anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. What makes this so much better now is that we can somersault forward while scrolling. My goodness, this was honestly, Tomb Raider 4 was an even bigger pain point to crawl through than Tomb Raider 3 in many situations. I'm talking about you entrance into the Hypostyle Hall. So yeah, it's just such a breeze to not have to put up with that nonsense. Now guys, if you ever thought we need an origin story of Lara's backpack, well, do I have a treat for you. I absolutely adore the fact that Lara doesn't even give a damn about the treasure for which the previous explorer died here from the pedestal. By the way, what's cool is that this warns us about pedestal traps we'll encounter later on in Karnak, I believe, in the Guardian of Samarkand level. So this is really cool foreshadowing, though they will work a little bit differently. But yeah, she just doesn't give a damn about the reason this fella died. She likes the backpack, she will take it. This is also where we officially transitioned from Young Lara number 1 into Young Lara number 2. Actually, let me show you. See, we are without backpack, now we are with a backpack. And let me just check this here. Yeah, until we beat the game, we cannot sort of scroll through outfits freely. Even though these are outfits we already went through, but in the outfit selector you will see that it now shows us young number 2, okay? So it's just really cute that way. Okay, don't worry, this will not crush you. I don't know why, I love running into it. And now, when you crawl out, be very careful not to move, or you'll miss out on, I think, a very crucial line delivery from young Lara.
Ah, a backpack. Let us hope it does not hold the same luck for you as its previous owner.
I make my own luck, Werner. What now?
And the now move. Again, this dialogue exchange about Lara making her own luck is just so ridiculously easy to miss.
Now it begins. The eyes of the ancients are upon us, and their vengeance is wrathful. We must move quickly. When running, press and hold sprint to gain extra speed.
I actually like this line from Werner. How he's giving Lara a bit of a context, trying to scare the young kid about the wrath of ancients. I know, I think it's really cute. But where I think this line sucks is its timing. He tells us to sprint way before it makes any
Dive
sense.
through the gap. Dive through
So
the gap.
let's do what he says.
Press jump to perform a diving roll.
And you could have seen our health bar being poisoned for a little while. Now don't worry, if you don't make it in time, you can absolutely crawl under, okay? Or even somersault through. It doesn't really matter. If you don't want to take any damage from these, keep this in mind for New Game Plus especially, where these are almost lethal. You'll want to crawl and somersault under the whole thing. But that's neither here or there for now. I just want to follow Von Croy's instructions, okay? Oh, now this is interesting. This is, my friends, officially where our adventure is gonna branch out into two separate paths for the rest of Cambodia. So, this right here, if I'm not mistaken, is the final 8th secret. Correct. Let me save the game here. And I would like to show you the two finales for this level. If you do not pick it up, the dialogue exchange will be a bit different, as will be the ending of this level.
The Garden of the Five Towers. To the right, the path of the heretical. To the left is the route of the virtuous.
You know me, Werner. A regular virtuoso.
A really cute reply. And Lara says this because we haven't found all 8 secrets. Now, how are you supposed to know this is the condition for it? I truly have no idea. By the way, I complained about this in the past because Werner would always mention left and right, and he would go to the very opposite of what we say. This was supposed to be the path of heretical, not virtuous. But then some of you guys pointed out, hold on a second, he was looking at us like this from his perspective. This is left, and this is right. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're correct. I guess it shows how little empathy I have. Okay, so let's move on and see the finale of the path of the virtuous.
Now it becomes interesting, yeah? You see now it is not for the weak of heart. How do you hold up, girl?
Oh, I think I could get used to this.
And another ridiculously easy to miss line, if you just head straight for the crawl space, you'll want to move to the exit
The
first.
door before us requires 2 people to open it. You go up to the alcove above the door. I will activate the switch down here.
Of course, we're gonna do the difficult work. I can't imagine Werner with his heavier frame to swing on a rope. And swinging on a rope is exactly what we're gonna do. Oh yes.
Push forward. Now press and hold action. When you are hanging from the ledge, hold down crawl to squeeze into the gap.
What Werner says here was also incorrect in the original Tomb Raider 4 because Lara would manually enter crawl gaps. You didn't need to hold crawl to squeeze into them like you had in the original Tomb Raider 3. And this is completely obsolete for 3 and 4 Remastered where this is automatic, which is cool.
Swing across to the alcove. Jump from the ledge, then hold down action to grab the vine. To release, let go of action.
This is the worst tutorial for the most difficult game mechanic. Seriously, he told us nothing. He told us grab it with action and then release action. No, this is where I'm gonna step in and teach you a couple of tricks of the trade. Okay guys, so yeah. Make a running jump and hold action for Lara to grab it. Once you're on the rope, you can go down or you can climb up, which takes a bit longer. For some strictly difficult jumps, I do recommend making it all the way up to the rope, because this is gonna decrease the swinging momentum and stabilize the rope. You don't need to stabilize it fully, but the longer time you spend at the very top, the more quickly it's gonna stabilize. When it's stable, move to the very bottom using the directional keys. By the way, you can also turn around, and I'm by the way covering the tank controls, but this is inverted for whatever reason. When you hold right, Lara will turn left. If you hold left, Lara will turn right. It's just a bit odd like that. There'll be also climbable poles, well this will also be the case. Now in case you want to swing, you need to hold the sprint key, which is a minor detail Werner kind of omitted. Now you can either just hold the sprint key, which is gonna make Lara swing eventually all the way, or if you don't have the patience for it, you can time the swing key for when she's swinging forward, okay? Don't do it when she's swinging backwards. So when you're at the one end of the animation, you should release and repress it. That's kind of the trick to it. And you can either let go of action, or whilst holding the sprint key, you can also make the jump key for more difficult jumps. Actually, I'm gonna show that to you in a sec. Okay, seems the rope has stabilized during that cutscene, which is very convenient. So yeah, we made it across via releasing the action key. And now, what I want to do is show you how to make it one square further via holding the jump key. But keep in mind, pressing and holding the jump key only works if you're also holding the sprint key. That's the trick to it that the game doesn't tell you. And I'll be honest, I don't remember having to hold the sprint key for the jump key to work in the original, but maybe I just forgot. But it seems like a recent change with the remaster. Now, the recent patch has apparently improved rope swinging greatly for modern controls, but like I said, I'm just gonna show you the tank controls that I'm familiar with and experienced with. Okay. And if you take few more steps, you will essentially reach the next level. Now, I guess technically we could take a look at the stat screen for the Path of the Virtues. We are absolutely missing a pickup, which is also the 8th secret. Therefore, we unlocked only What's Up Dog, but not the Codex of Angkor Wat. And that's where I'm gonna fix things right here. So let's move on to the loading screen and let me show you the Path of the Heretical. And pick this up. Yay! And there we go, Codex of Angkor Wat. Collect all secrets in Cambodia levels. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
So you found the Garden of the Five Towers. Well done, my child. To the right, the path of the heretical. To the left is the route of the virtuous.
I'm up for a little heresy.
Lara's an absolute heretic. You know that's the only correct path we want to take. And this will also change the following level. If you finish Angkor Wat via the Path of the Virtues... Whoa, where did Von Croy disappear and reappear? What? Anyway, that was odd. If you finish Angkor Wat via the Path of Virtues, you'll find a much easier version for the Race of the Iris, and we'll need to use that to unlock an achievement later on, but that's gonna be for the next episode. The Path of Heretical in Angkor Wat is actually very similar to the Righteous one.
Now it becomes interesting, yeah? You see now it is not for the weak of heart. How do you hold up, girl?
Oh, I think I could get used to this.
Essentially, the whole pool is missing, meaning if you make a mistake on the rope, it's gonna cost you way more health. That's it.
The door before us requires 2 people to open it. You go up to the alcove above the door. I will activate the switch down here.
And this is the same deal as before, the same exact instructions, just somewhere else.
Push forward. Now press and hold action. When you are hanging from the ledge, hold down crawl to squeeze into the gap.
Whenever Werner talks about gaps and cracks, I just get shivers running down my spine. You know what I mean? Surely I'm not the only one. Anywho, great voice actor for what they were trying to pull off, I guess. Okay.
Swing across to the alcove. Jump from the ledge, then hold down action to grab the vine. To release, let go of action.
You know, you really learn to appreciate just how bad these instructions are after you have already swung on a rope at least once. What he tells you is to grab it and then immediately release. I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah, we wouldn't even make it to that ledge, but yeah. See how much further we do it if we use the sprint key with a proper momentum and then hold the jump key along with it. Once you learn this, rope swinging will be much less of a pain in the future. We have now opened the exit. Now guys, one thing I want to show you, and I talked about this before, the different ways to descend. If you descend like this, I think you should be safe and not take any damage, but to be absolutely sure, just crawl forward using the jump key for crawl. This way you are guaranteed not to take any damage, okay? Now guys, this is normally at the very level end where I would save the game. However, I do need this save file for the branching pathway to the Path of the Virtuous and Heretical, because that's going to affect the version of the next level we are going to tackle, and we need to tackle both to get all the achievements, and I also would want to show them to you anyway, okay? So, I'm not going to save here, but this is where we're going to finish today, and unfortunately one very annoying thing that this remastered trilogy does, and to be fair, even original 4, 5 and 6 were guilty of this, it will no longer show you the stat screen at the level end. So I will have to do that each time manually. So my friends, today this was Angkor Wat, a little bit of refreshing of mechanics you already knew, and I tried to highlight on screen via prompts some of the new moves you can pull off in Tomb Raider 4. But it's not all of them, oh no. We have gotten our hands on all 10 goodies, that's 2 medpacks and 8 secret golden skulls, which triggered all 8 secrets, and we unlocked the Codex of Angkor Wat achievement. The only other achievement we unlocked was What's Up Doc, and that was to die next to poor Indiana Jones, which is pretty damn funny. I showed you both the path of the virtuous and the heretical, and now you get a sort of a taste of what you have to look forward to in each of my episodes for this absolutely massive game. It's gonna be interesting to see how many patches we'll go through as I'm tackling this series, okay? Normally this is again where I would save at the end, but I'm not gonna do it just so we have access to both path of virtuous and heretical for the next episode. So I hope you enjoyed it today, and I'm not gonna say farewell before I say thanks to my absolutely amazing patrons. Blangopal, Mick, Severin Drax, Enstickle, Katie Danger, Boother2, and Basic Brian E. Thank you guys so much for being my loyal Winstons and for following Werner's advice and stopping for a tea. Next, I would like to say big thanks to my caretaker Winstons, Michael McConkey, Karavetu, Renegade Derny, Blanket Fox, Jonathan Jones, and Dick the Bee. Thank you guys so much for your support of the channel and also for looking after Werner's old gout. You are the best caretakers out there. I would also like to give special thanks to my brave veteran Winstons, Andrea Paviglianiti, Alexander, and Richard Dearman. Thank you guys so much for your brave support of the channel and also for the 3 of you chipping in for Lara's new backpack. After all the gauntlets and assault courses you made her and will make her run through in the future, this is a great reward. This backpack will be her loyal companion for decades to come. And finally, I would like to give one very special thanks to my one and only fine vintage Winston, Akira Foxmind. Thank you so much for your long and generous support of the channel, for all your kind comments, and also for being the one who, upon seeing the National Geographic article about Von Croy's expedition to Cambodia, sent him a very generous check to take Lara under his wing. This is how she learned the ropes of being a Tomb Raider in the first place. For some reason, Lord Henshingley Croft gets all the credit, but no, it was in fact you who convinced Von Croy to do this. And I mean, with Lara being next to him, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, I guess we'll find out in the next episode. And on a final note, I'd like to say thanks to my free Patreon members as well as to you guys for watching and making it to the very end of this massive video. You know, this was originally supposed to be short and sweet Streets of Rome, but funny how things change, don't they, with the release of a major patch. Then this was supposed to be sort of a patch notes video covering the different changes, and as I worked on it I realized, hold on a sec, people have already done a much better coverage of that than I could. I'm providing links to the description below for videos done by GameBreakersUK channel and Seth McKenzie. Please do check them out. So I kind of decided just to share my thoughts within this first Angkor Wat level of Tomb Raider 4, as well as setting the achievement plan. Hopefully it wasn't too messy, I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But what's important now is that we are so back, and next time I'm gonna see you when Lara and Von Croy will be racing to the artifact they came to the Cambodia for. And until then, I wish you guys happy raiding.